traveling to Ireland, here's a bunch of things that you don't want to miss on your next trip. And in this video, we're going to look at the Rock of Cashel, one of the most visited sites in all of Ireland. We're going to visit Hoare Abbey, and then we're going to take you some lesser known towns and places that are just as spectacular as these big sites that you've probably never heard of. So first I'm going to show you the Rock of Cashel. Now when you walk in the entrance, the first thing you're going to see is the statue. Now legend has it, if you can fit your arms around here, you will not get a toothache. I'm 6'2", so it's a little bit unfair for me because I'm just tall, so basically if you're under 6 foot, you get a toothache. If you don't know why people are hugging the statue, it probably looks very strange to you. Now what makes this site so impressive is that everything is very well preserved. Most medieval castles in Ireland are broken down and kind of grummy and just dilapidated. Basically, it didn't have enough funding and money to keep it up to date, but this site is, and it's the only site that has all of these things. A round tower, high cross, Romanesque chapel, Gothic cathedral, an abbey, and a hall of Vickers choral, and a 15th century tower house. You can see all of these things at this site, which is really, really impressive. Now, if you come here, I would highly recommend taking a tour because at the beginning, you're not going to know what you're looking at. You're just going to see this medieval stone statues. It's not going to make any sense to you. But once somebody explains it to you, you're going to understand things like this, that this guy actually died when he was 21 years old, and that the average life expectancy back then was only 28. And when you learn perspective like that, you realize that I'm almost turning 40, so I would actually be super old. Or another thing like this random tomb here is actually the tomb of somebody who lived to be 100 years old. If the average life expectancy is 28, somebody who lives to be 100 years old is actually very, very important. I would have never known that had I not taken this tour. The tour guide also talked about lepers and how they always try to keep them separate from everybody else because it was contagious at the time. It's just something that we don't have to worry about, which also makes me feel really fortunate. In this view up here, I wanted to just show you three things. One is how green Ireland is. When the skies are blue, it is just the most green you've ever seen in your life. Two is that there's snow in the mountains, which means it's about to snow and it's really, really cold here. And three is that there's Hoare Abbey right within walking distance. It looks really cool and we're gonna go there in a little bit. Now sometimes this place is called St. Patrick's Rock because St. Patrick was said to come here. Anywhere in Ireland that St. Patrick was or is said to be was really famous. Now this was interesting because it was walled off. It was trying to keep people out of it and try to keep the birds out. And of course somebody shot a Nerf gun in here, which their parents probably were not very happy about. But actually there were murals all over the inside of this abbey. Inside the buildings here, there were murals everywhere. And this is probably the most preserved mural that they had in the entire castle. If you're part of the tour and you pay a little bit extra money, you get to go into Cormac's Chapel. This is one of the best preserved architectural sites in all of Ireland that has to do with Roman architecture, which has to do with these curves that you're seeing here. And this is actually a really cool site, but it's very, very, very highly regulated because of the moisture in the air. We're only allowed 15 minutes in and out of here. This is the best preserved staircase in all of Ireland. It's walled off so you can't get in there, but I just wanted to show you how I'm 6'2", of course, and it's really, really tall for me. And it's not that people in Ireland are short. I guess they built all of the entrances very, very short so that people, if they were attacking inside the castle, that they would get stuck and they couldn't just have massive hordes of people kind of running in, built small for a reason, so that you had to duck so that you couldn't move very fast. Just a short walk down the hill is Hoare Abbey, and we're gonna go check it out. It doesn't look like you can enter in here, but actually people come in here all the time. There's no fee to get in here. It's absolutely free, so it's kind of nice. You can kind of see kind of the same thing as the Rock of Cashel, but it's free, so you can come in here. You don't have to pay anything, which is kind of cool. Again, you're going to want to brush up on your history before you come here because otherwise you're just going to be looking at ruins and rocks. It's not going to make any sense. It just looks like a bunch of stones somebody piled years ago. But the only thing that I do know about this was Ireland's last medieval cistern monastery. There were monks that lived here years and years ago. At this point, that's all I know about this place. I do know that this is where they used to hang the bell. They used to have somebody who would ring the bell all the time, and it was their job to ring the bell. It's very special for them to get to do that, but that's where they would hang the bell. It was just kind of cool walking around by myself seeing all this cool history. All right, now it's time to get out of this random farmer's field and get on the road and go somewhere else. Now this is a town of Mallow. There's plenty of stuff to see here, and honestly I wasn't originally planning on seeing this town. I just randomly pulled over to get some gas and take a little refreshment break. But there was a castle, there was an estate, there was a farm, there was all this kind of cool stuff to see, so I actually just parked the car and took 2 hours to kind of circle around the town and see as many sights as I could. Now, if you do come here, I would skip the estate. That castle is really cool, but the estate's kind of broken down and they're reconstructing it. There's literally nothing to see. And the first thing that I saw was a castle. This is just fascinating to me that they have these old castles that are just kind of broken down and they're kind of reconstructing them. So you have to use your imagination a little bit to see what the castle is going to look like once it's done being constructed. But just walking around the town was so cool. There were like these local pubs that you could just walk into, and at the town square there was all the shopping that you could go to. And this is exactly what I bought my kids for St. Patty's Day. It is the beginning of March, and St. Patty's Day is coming up in a couple of weeks, so I bought this for my kids. And I just really like walking around, seeing the random sights, just seeing people in their element. That's why I wanted to come to Ireland in the middle of winter, the non-touristy season. I wanted to see how people lived and acted without all the hordes of tourists and the beautiful summer weather. I just kind of wanted to see an authentic Irish town, and this definitely fit the bill for me. Coming from the United States, everything looks foreign, all right? Everything looks very, very different, very tight, very compact. Everything looks like there's a lot of history to it. Just very different from the United States, and I think that's what I liked about this town the most. It's just the opposite of these big cities that we all live in the United States. And I wanted to take a shot of this because you have these relatively modern houses that are bright colored, and then you have this kind of castle garage this guy has, which is kind of cool. Anyways, this is where I parked. I grabbed my stuff, threw it in the trunk, and away we go. We've got another hour drive till we get to this next castle, which you guys must see. This is Bunratty Castle. And while the castle is very revamped and built and renovated, you also have a folk park behind it, which, to be honest with you, in the summer is probably a lot more lively. Like, supposedly there are people who get dressed up and act and sing and kind of perform for you. I honestly didn't see any of that for two reasons. Number one, it's winter. Number two is close to closing time, so I actually didn't see anybody in those costumes, which is kind of disappointing. But in the summer, I'm sure it's much cooler to see. One thing that is super disturbing are these antlers that keep hanging from the ceilings. Those things were so weird, and I didn't understand them. All right, let's go down in the dungeon and see what that's like. This place was so cramped. I'm so skinny, but I'm really tall, so this is just awkward. I was both squished in both different directions going down here. Let's get out of this dungeon. Like I was saying before, I'm visiting in the middle of winter, so everything's just kind of shut down and not very lively. I imagine there's a lot of different people in costumes kind of hanging out here in the summertime. But anyways, I was able to see the sights and see all the architecture, see the history of this castle, which is really cool. And it was interesting because they didn't want too many people getting in one area, so they had these different stoplights like yellow and red. But to be honest with you, there was nobody here, so I just went up anyways. And it was really cool because when you got to the top, not only was I alone, there was nobody there, but it was a beautiful day, and the weather in Ireland is so unpredictable. I was just really lucky to get to see this blue weather. The sun was shining, and I was able to see these really cool views at the top of this tower. And I remember before going on this trip, somebody saying, oh, you're going to Ireland in the worst time of the year, meaning it's just going to rain every single day. And yes, it does rain in Ireland, and it rains even in the summertime. So don't get scared of coming to Ireland just because you're afraid of a little bit of rain. Even in the summer times it rained. Anyways, I was able to get a good view, came down here. Oh, that door does not open. Okay, and the other disturbing thing I saw is when I walked into this room, I looked up, and there's all these turtle shells, which I'm pretty sure aren't native to Ireland. I just didn't really understand that. That was kind of weird. I mean, those were huge tortoise shells. Maybe Ireland has tortoises. And in the next room, guess what? Another weird, creepy chandelier that has elk horns on it, or deer horns, or whatever. I don't know. That thing is just weird. I don't understand why every room has one. If they really want to use those to decorate their rooms. Anyways, let's get out of here. Let's get out of the castle and let's go to the pool. Let's go and see what it was like in the medieval ages. This is a farmhouse, so I had like the little loft up there. And then we see the bank, we see the trading store, and then you walk by this random owl which kind of looks at you and you look at it. Okay, these stores were really cool. I don't know if earlier in the day you could actually go in them. They were all closed kind of when I was there, and there was nobody on the streets. Kind of a cool feeling. But imagine, like I said, in the summer it's going to be a much more lively place to be. There's going to be more people walking around and that kind of thing. But it was kind of cool to see what it was like to be back in the medieval ages, what the houses looked like, what the bars looked like. This was a medieval bar, and guess what? It served Guinness. I'm always amazed at the signs of Guinness that everywhere tell you, drink Guinness, it is good for you. They had those back in the day, and they still have those up in modern day and in the modern day cities. Oh yeah, by the way, if you go here, go to Dirty Nelly's. It sounds really interesting, but the bar is actually really good. It's only like €5 for a beer, really good atmosphere. So I hope you guys like this video. If you go to Ireland and you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. And if you go and you visit them and you have a good time, reach out, let me know.